Hi everyone, this is my last day in Nanning. The Golden Holiday Hotel offers a very generous 2 p.m. checkout, which I'm going to take advantage of so I can head back and get a shower before I head for the station tonight on tonight's overnight train trip across the Vietnamese border. That leaves at 6:30, so that gives me 4.5 hours to get organised, get to the station, maybe get a bite to eat, because I'm not sure if there's a restaurant on this car or not. I've got a bad feeling about it. Anyway, I'm going to go and see the Technology Museum. It's a bit geeky, but apparently it's supposed to be quite good, so I'll see you on the way. Well, that's disappointing. The front door of the Guangxi Science and Technology Museum seems to be firmly closed. There's a whole lot of people actually sitting in the shade outside the building. And I thought, well, maybe it doesn't open for another 15-20 minutes yet. Let's just hang around. Then I realized all the people who were waiting had small children about the age of 2. And I thought they're a bit young to appreciate science and technology. Then I noticed that, or I guessed that a building adjacent was actually a child's daycare center. Yeah, okay, so plan B, there is another museum up here. As long as it's air conditioned, I don't care what it is, and I'll see when we get there. Well, the Guangxi Natural History Museum seems to have a large hoarding around it, so I'm not having much luck today. Third time lucky, something else down here I'd like to look at. Plan C was to look at a park, which was on my map. Unfortunately, the map was printed from Google Maps, which have a tendency to be wrong, and there was no trace of this park anywhere. So Plan C failed miserably. I'm now in the centre of town again. I've got about 2.5 hours before I have to check out, so I might just mess around in the town centre, maybe get a bite to eat, then head back to the hotel, because I still have to pack. Every shop has someone at the front door trying to attract attention, whether it's music, whether it's a loudspeaker, whether they're clapping their hands, whether they've got clappers. Everyone's fighting for the attention of a passerby. That's why this place is so noisy. It does have life though, but it is noisy. After a very lazy morning, I'm off now to the station to catch tonight's train to Hanoi. I'm a little bit apprehensive about this. This train is definitely off the beaten track. I'm sure everything will be fine once I find my berth. That'll be me for the night, until the immigration officials come on board. Right, I'm going to head for Nanning railway station. That's the availability display on tonight's trains. Our train is full, all sleepers, but over 200 seats available as seats. Right, where do you enter the station proper? Down that way. This is the outdoor waiting area. It's not too bad. They've got some huge fans blowing the air around, so it's actually quite cool. It takes a little while, especially when things aren't translated into English, but I think I have it sussed. Car 1 is right up the front, right behind the locomotives. Having walked the length of the train, a nice man has told me all the sleeping compartments are down the end of the train. train arrived 35 minutes late because we were due to have a locomotive change at the Vietnamese border. Unfortunately, there was no locomotive. Not a problem. So here we are, Hanoi. Not the busiest capital city station I've ever seen. Okay, all is clear, relatively. I had a feeling I was at the wrong station, and that's because they don't drop you off at Hanoi station. They drop you off about 5 kilometers to the east on the wrong side of the river. So despite my better judgment, I'm going to have to get a taxi to the hotel. Right, I'm going to tell you about the border crossing. The train stopped at the Chinese border crossing point called Pingxiang, and we're there at 10:20 at night. We were herded into a fairly modern air-conditioned building, and the entire train was processed in about 20 minutes. By 30 minutes we were all back on the train. We waited for 30 minutes because one guy who was pushing his way up the line eventually got nabbed and had to sit by himself in a secure area. So it just goes to show you there is justice in the world. Anyway, we sat there, we then trundled through the darkness for about an hour, and then we arrived at Dong Dang. Now Dong Dang is actually the Vietnamese side of things. We had to grab our luggage again, head out and form an orderly queue, this time on the platform, and we're processed one by one. Now, I'm sorry, I'm being watched by a little lady here. The guy behind the desk got very confused when he couldn't find a visa for me. I told him that I had a GB passport and therefore I didn't need a visa for under 15 days, which he understood. I didn't have to show him any proof from the Embassy of Vietnam website or anything. He was okay. He just stamped it, stamped the passport, wrote the date I had to be out and emphasized that is the date you must leave by, and I said that's fair enough. I even had my electronic ticket with Emirates from Ho Chi Minh City to prove that I was leaving on a certain date anyway. Baggage through the x-ray, and roughly we were processed each in about 5 minutes. It was so quick. Back on the train, where we kind of promptly sat there for about an hour to an hour and a half. The idea being that our Chinese locomotive would be replaced by a Vietnamese one. Unfortunately, the Vietnamese locomotive didn't appear because the return train heading from Hanoi to Nanning was running late. So of course our train can't leave until we get their locomotive. Eventually we got one, and we got into Hanoi around about half an hour late. So that was the adventure. It was actually one of the easiest border crossings I've actually had. And anyway, I've got time to kill now. I'm just waiting for the 0900 to Ho Chi Minh City to pass.